Here's the other dimension. It's called financial stewardship. Money magnifies identity. If you want to know who you are, get you some money. It really does magnify who you are. Financial stewardship reveals your discipline, your generosity, your priorities, your long-term thinking. Behavioral finance research shows that money habits are largely identity-driven. You don't manage money according to information. You manage it according to belief. Your spending, saving, giving, and investing patterns are shaping someone else's understanding of security and responsibility. Here's the question. If someone studied my financial behavior, right? If someone just studied you for 30 days, how you spent your money, looked into your bank account, your accountant probably does that. What would it teach them? We are here, y'all. We are entering season 4. Oh my goodness. If you missed season 3, I want to say go back and watch all the episodes. They are amazing. We've had some incredible guests that have joined us as we talked about vision. And now we're in a new season. Wow, I'm so excited to be here with you. If this is your first time being introduced to Optimum Living, I want to say welcome and thank you for being here. For all of you who are returning, thank you so much for being on this journey, for your support, for your words of life, those that I've met in person and those who have just been giving comments and sharing so many encouraging words. Thank you for being with me on Optimum Living. And we are now in season 4, and I cannot believe it. As we're getting ready to enter into this season, if you have not already subscribed, I want to say start off by subscribing and hit that notification bell so that you know that we have a new episode that comes out on Wednesdays. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for just being here. I love you so much. Officially, welcome to Optimum Living. I'm Sybil Bull, your host for Faith Based Optimum Living. This season, we are talking about something most people wait too late to think about, and that's legacy. But today, we are talking about what happens. We're going to talk about what happens before you die. We're not talking about death today. We're talking about what happens when you're living. We're talking about how it looks for you to build things every day. Because legacy is not something you leave. It is something you live. I'm going to say that again. Legacy is not something you leave. It is something you live. And we want to live our lives in a way that we build legacy. Let's define it because some of us may have an idea what it is, but I just want you to be clear on exactly what legacy is. So when we define legacy, I'm going to give you all the different tiers of it. Culturally, legacy is often defined as what people remember about you, your accomplishments, your name, and your assets, right? When you think about it biblically, legacy is generational transmission. From Psalms 145:4, it declares, one generation shall commend your works to another, speaking about God's work, and he does that through us, and shall declare your mighty acts. Legacy is not silent. It is spoken, it is modeled and transferred. It moves from one generation to the next through what is seen, practiced, and declared. Psychology says that legacy is the cumulative pattern of identity-based behavior. Research shows that we do not rise to our goals, we fall to our identity. If you don't have right identity, that causes you not to be able to build your legacy in the way it's supposed to be built. Who you believe you are shapes what you repeatedly do, and repetition shapes how others experience you and I. So here is our definition for optimum living, because I like to throw one in there for y'all. Legacy is the consistent pattern of identity and values you embody and practice daily. It is not your intention. It is your alignment and repetition. I know someone says they're being intentional, but it's really about your alignment and repetition. Legacy is not written at the end of your life. It is drafted daily by who you choose to be and the decisions that follow. Let me say that again. Legacy is not written at the end of your life. It is drafted daily by who you choose to be and the decisions that follow. We can't talk about legacy without actually beginning this season without what it looks like to have emotional groundwork, right? Because optimum living is about being purpose driven. It's about emotional wellness and living a meaningful life. So as we dive into this section and we're talking about legacy building, we have to talk about the emotions that go with it, right? Because they are important. So groundwork requires emotional honesty. This is where we're talking about the groundwork of what it looks like. You cannot build a meaningful legacy on a divided inner life, meaning that there's something not quite well on the inside yet. Emotional fragmentation happens when there is a gap between what you say, your values, and how you consistently live, between who you present publicly and who you are privately, between conviction and coping. This is all about your emotions. Psychological research helps us understand why this matters. Cognitive dissonance theory shows that when our behavior contradicts our belief, it creates internal tension. Woo! Identity theory further explains that people are wired to seek congruence between who they believe they are and how they act. When the alignment is missing, stress, oh my gosh, increases, trust erodes, and integrity weakens. We are talking about legacy building and that place of emotional groundwork. But listen to this, but when identity and behavior align, what happens? Something powerful takes place. When identity and behavior align, something powerful takes place. Research on authenticity and well-being shows that individuals who live congruently, where their actions match their values, experience greater clarity, emotional stability, and fulfillment. Their inner life and outer life are integrated. They are not performing, they are aligned. Woo! Legacy requires that kind of integration. You have to have emotional grounding because what you do repeatedly flows from who you believe you are. And what you do repeatedly is what others experience. And that is so important because you could be thinking, that when people say da 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 about you, whether it's on a more positive note or a note of needing improvement, you may not see that you're performing and the way it is, right? And so you want to just look at that and also listen to how people are experiencing you. So let me ask you this carefully, because you know I'm going to ask you some questions because it's important for you to reflect. Does your daily behaviors reflect your stated values? What you say is important, what you say you value. Does your daily behaviors reflect that, right? Does your family experience the same integrity your audience sees? So the people on the outside do that. Does your family, the intimate group, do they experience the same things? Are your habits reinforcing what you say matters most or quietly undermining it? Legacy begins with identity alignment, not productivity, not applause, not visibility, but alignment with your identity. You cannot pass down what you have not integrated. A fragmented identity produces a fractured legacy. You cannot pass down what you have not integrated. A fragmented identity produces a fractured legacy. Woo! That's some of the things that's been passed down to us from people in our lives that haven't been well. And some of those things we've had to work through, right? we've had to work through. Emotional groundwork means examining your triggers instead of excusing them, repairing where you have been inconsistent, and also regulating your responses instead of reacting impulsively. Choosing integrity even when it costs you. Because legacy is not built on charisma, it is built on character. And character is formed in the quiet decisions no one applauds. Oh my gosh, I know that so well. But everyone eventually experiences alignment first, impact follows. Now let's talk about how there's 5 dimensions in this legacy framework, right? So there's different portions of legacy building that we want to focus on so that we're able to see all across the board that when we're building this legacy, we are doing it in the dimensions that we're supposed to. Legacy is not built in one area of your life. It is built across dimensions, right? And whether you are conscious of it or not, you are building in all 5. Every day, intentionally or unintentionally. Here are the 5 dimensions of daily legacy. I want to give you number 1 because it is very important. Spiritual depth. This is the foundation, our spiritual depth, our faith. Spiritual depth is not public spirituality. It is interior formation, what's happening on the inside. A lot of what I talk about is about what's happening on the inside. It is interior formation. Did you hear that? It's interior, inside, right? It is how you are anchored in your truth when no one is watching, the truth. It is how quickly you return to alignment when you drift, and all of us drift from time to time. It is the maturity of your faith under pressure. Spiritual depth determines how you interpret success. And I've had to redefine success, and I've encouraged other people to do that. I also talk about that in one of the episodes in Vision. How you endure suffering, how you respond to offense, how you steward your influence. If your spiritual life is shallow, your legacy will be reactive. If your spiritual life is deep, your legacy will be stable. And when we say your spiritual life, we're talking about your faith. We're talking about the works that go with your faith. Ask yourself, does my private faith sustain my public life? Here's the question. Does my private faith sustain my public life? You have to answer that. And that's a question you need to ask yourself weekly, monthly, reflecting on that to make sure that it is in alignment. Here's the second dimension. It's relationships. It's relational health, right? Relational health is also a legacy dimension. Relational health includes emotional regulation, conflict navigation, forgiveness capacity, consistency, and safety. This is a part of our legacy. Research in family systems theory shows that emotional patterns transfer across generations. What you normalize relationally becomes the emotional inheritance of those around you. Let me say that again. Research in family systems theory shows that emotional patterns transfer across generations. What you normalize relationally becomes the emotional inheritance of those around you. If you avoid hard conversations, you are building avoidance into your legacy. If you model repair and accountability, you are building resilience into your legacy. You're showing your family, you're showing others what that looks like. Your relationships are the clearest evidence of your character. Woo-wee. That's heavy. I know. Here's the question to ask other people. People that are around you, ask them this. Are the people closest to me thriving because of my presence, or are they just tolerating me? I hope no one is tolerating you. I hope that you are being a person who is thriving and others are thriving around you. But just in case you discover that people are tolerating you, Don't become upset. Get into a place where you start working in your emotional space, your spiritual space, and making sure that your regulations of how you want to be, who you want to be, and your identity starts to be consistently the same. Here's another dimension, y'all. Professional excellence. Professional excellence. Work is not separate from legacy. It is one of the loudest expressions. Work is not separate from legacy. It is one of the loudest expressions. There are people that we absolutely love. We read their books, we watch their podcasts, we watch their videos, we follow them. They make an impact because their professional excellence speaks, right? Professional excellence is not perfectionism. It's not about doing everything to the T, because that's impossible. It is integrity applied consistently. It is what? Integrity applied consistently. It shows up in how you meet deadlines, how you treat your colleagues or your clients, how you handle ethical pressure, right? How you steward opportunities. Your work ethic teaches others what responsibility looks like. Oh my goodness. You may not even be paying attention to how you are encouraging someone in your community, in your sphere of influence with your professional excellence. It really does matter. Colossians 2:23 reminds us to work as unto the Lord. That means excellent is not about applause. It is about alignment. Here's a question to ask yourself, because I like you to reflect. Does my work reflect my values or just my ambition? Because they're two different things. I can have ambition and there's nothing wrong with it. But if my work does not reflect my values, that's where there's a problem. Here's the other dimension. It's called financial stewardship. Money magnifies identity. If you want to know who you are, get you some money. Don't have no money. Borrow some money. Increase your life. Money cometh to me. Money is working for me. Money. It really does magnify who you are. Financial stewardship reveals your discipline, your generosity, your priorities, your long-term thinking. Behavioral finance research shows that money habits are largely identity-driven. You don't manage money according to information. You manage it according to belief. I know that's right. I had to take a moment in this financial stewardship of my legacy building, and I had to pay attention to see if I was in a place of belief or I was just having habits, how I viewed it, what I thought about it. All of those things were really important. And so you need to take time to really see what are the beliefs and how you're identifying yourself with money. Your spending, saving, giving, and investing patterns are shaping someone else's understanding of security and responsibility. I'm a parent. I have 7 children. They're all grown. But I do know that financial stewardship, how we did it, how we reviewed it, what we talked about, I know for sure we passed that on. Whether we did it in excellence or we did it in identity or we did it through beliefs, we're able to see it in our children who are now grown, what we were able to pass on in legacy that was positive and also areas that needed to be improved. If my financial behavior were studied, here's the question: what would it teach me about what I truly value? If someone studied my financial behavior, right? If someone just studied you for 30 days, how you spent your money, looked into your bank account, your accountant probably does that. What would it teach them? And here's number 5, because we said there's 5 dimensions. Number 5 is personal growth. Legacy stagnates when growth stops. Personal growth includes self-awareness, learning, correction, skill development, emotional maturity. The most dangerous place for a leader or anyone leading is competence without growth. Woo! I don't have enough time to talk about that, but I want you to think about that. The most dangerous place for a leader is competence without growth. If you resist feedback, if you're building rigidity into your legacy, if you pursue growth, you are building adaptability. Here's another question. Am I becoming more mature each year or just more experienced? Woo! Are you becoming more mature each year or just more experienced? Because we can have experience and not have growth, maturity. I can say that I've seen myself mature even in the last several months. So I want to make sure that I am having personal growth. Here we go. We want to take all the 5, and we have to understand that legacy is about including all 5 of them. Whether we're doing it intentionally, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious, we are doing it. If you do not get to pause legacy in one dimension. You do not get to pause it. It's happening without your permission. If you're strong professionally, but neglect relational health, that imbalance becomes a part of your legacy. That's the person who becomes very successful. They're doing really great in their profession, but have no community, no small group of people that they lean on or depend on. And you pass that on. That's where people start telling you that it's lonely at the top. And it can be lonely sometimes, but you still need to have friends. You still need to have relationships, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing that and you're not having an imbalance in your legacy. If you're generous financially, but stagnant in your faith and in your spirituality, that gap becomes visible over time. Legacy is the cumulative alignment across dimensions. Legacy is the cumulative alignment across dimensions. Here's your reflecting question as we're getting ready to close out in just a moment. If someone observed your life for 90 days, that's your calendar, the way you speak, your spending habits, your conversations, your stress responses, what would they conclude your values actually are? Not what you posted, not what you profess, what you practiced. Your calendar and your conversations reveal your legacy before your obituary ever will. Legacy is not theoretical, it is observable. And observable patterns always tell the truth. Legacy, y'all, is not an event. It is not something that we just do every now and then. Legacy is not emotional, where we just feel it one time and then we don't think about it anymore. It's consistency. We have to be consistent. I have to be consistent. We must be aware of what we are building. Listen, if this episode stirs something in you, don't just agree. Do an audit on yourself. Leave me a comment let me know, what of the 5 dimensions do you believe you need to work on? Where do you feel that you're doing really great? Well, this is the one area that I need to work on. Leave me a comment. Let me know. And in your personal time, do a reflection for yourself. Thank you for tuning into Optimum Living. I'm Sybil Bull, helping you grow, live fully, and unlock the life you were created to enjoy. Until next time, stay grounded, stay grateful, and keep reaching for the life that God has shown you. And remember, you are designed to live an optimum life. I'll see you next time.